if you build it, they won't come.
Right.
You know, like that mentality, it doesn't work anymore.
No. Hello everyone, thanks for tuning in to episode 2 of 12 TV, where we chat business, branding, and marketing. Today we have my friend Janis Galloway from Publicity Room in the house. If you don't know Janis, her PR agency works with exciting brands such as Simon's, DKNY, and Gravity Pope. Her clients are often the talk of town and get featured in media outlets such as Global News, CBC, and the National Post. Thanks so much for coming by, Janis.
Thanks for inviting me. This is really fun.
Yeah. So, for those out there who don't know you, can you tell us about yourself a little bit and about Publicity Room?
Sure. Okay. So my story is a bit long. I tried to divide it into a little nutshell.
Yeah.
But I've been working in PR and communications for about 10 years now. I'm a graduate of the MacEwan Public Relations program, which I'm like a huge advocate of. It's an amazing program.
Awesome.
So yeah, most of my career was actually in nonprofit sector. So I did a lot of like advocacy work and communications and marketing for nonprofits. I kind of jumped around from nonprofit to nonprofit for about 8 years. My last kind of 9 to 5 gig, as I like to call it, was with the Art Gallery of Alberta. So I was in marketing there. And then I was also really heavily involved in the fashion community. So I used to be a freelance writer for publications like the Edmonton Journal, Flair Magazine.
You had an awesome blog too, right?
I had a blog, yeah, I had a fashion blog, and so that kind of gained momentum, and then I found myself sort of enveloped in the fashion scene. And then basically what started happening was, as kind of a fashion influencer, I was getting a lot of big firms from Toronto and New York, PR firms, who were contacting me and saying, hey, can you tell us, who do we invite to our launch party? Who do we pitch for local media? You know, we're moving, our client is opening a store in Alberta. How do we navigate this market? I was hosting a lot of TV segments for them and just working in partnership with these PR firms. And then I slowly started to everything started to click, and I was like, wait a second, there's no fashion PR firms in Alberta. This is crazy. We have so many brands here. We have so many brands coming in here who don't know what's going on.
Right.
I can be the feet on the ground. So that's when everything started to click, and then the idea for Publicity Room came to be, where I was like, oh, I can mix my love of fashion and my knowledge of the fashion community in Alberta with my skill set in public relations. So we launched Publicity Room in 2015. So I still feel like we're a baby company. But
Lots have happened in a couple of years.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy to reflect on what's happened. But that's kind of the story as quickly as I can tell it.
So it's a natural transition into hey, the need was there, let's just make it happen.
Yeah, it happened very organically and kind of all by accident.
Yeah.
The market told me what it wanted, and then I just said, okay, I'll give it to you.
The market is the market, and provide that need.
Yeah.
Awesome. So a lot of people use the word PR, and there's a lot of confusion around it. I hear it all the time as well too. Sometimes people think PR is you hire a PR firm to put out a fire, let's say, right?
Yes.
Something bad happened or whatever the case, right? But what exactly is Publicity Room's translation of PR? And what does that mean to you?
Yeah, so we get asked this all the time.
Yeah.
So often we'll have people come to us and they're like, I know I need PR, but I don't actually know what it is. So a lot of what we do is education about public relations. So it's kind of this big umbrella term, and under that PR umbrella, there's a lot of different facets. There's a lot of different services we provide. So our focus at Publicity Room is mostly media relations. So that's what we're really good at. That's what I love. I mean, I'm an ex-journalist myself,
right,
and I love the world of media. I love storytelling. So our focus is media relations, and that is basically, you want to get more awareness about your business. We use the media as the platform to spread that to thousands of people, right? So, the Edmonton Journal or the National Post, whatever, they've spent years in the industry building an audience. Let's leverage their audience to tell your story. So that's the number one thing we do, is get people media coverage. The other service that we provide is more, I guess, communications consulting. So what story are you weaving through your social media platforms, on your website, through every public touch point. We can help you make sure that it's cohesive, that you have a brand story that's going to be compelling to the audience that you're trying to reach.
Do you help generate that story if,
Yes.
people come to you, there's a lot of different ideas and maybe,
Yeah.
partners have different ideas. Do you help put that all into one story?
Yeah, so we try to kind of distill it down into like some very succinct kind of key messages that we think will resonate, or we think that are interesting or impactful. So it's a lot of like discovery with clients, or getting to like the nitty gritty of like, what's your why, which is kind of, it's a buzz thing to say, but it is the truth. It's like, why are you doing what you're doing? What problem are you solving? Like, why do you exist as a company? So we really like distill to figure out that message, and then we help them cohesively weave that through every touch point, both externally and internally, even with their team as well, right? So it's vague, it's like this big like picture stuff, but so I guess like lots of copywriting, media, press releases.
Would you say it's something that company needs like ongoing, or because sometimes we'll just hire one time for like, let's say, a special opening or something's happening, or would you say it's a critical thing for a growing brand to have ongoing?
100%, yeah. If you could have, the ideal thing would be like you would have the budget to hire a communications person full-time in your business. Like, to me, that's like the first hire. That's what you need is communications to grow your business. And when you look at a lot of companies that have been successful, the thing they've invested in is building their brand story. It's like that communications component of how they're communicating with the public. So
you're right. I think it's like if the communication and the story is there and the why is there, you give that reason for, some people say sales is first because sales is what's bringing revenue. But then the salespeople need that why to sell, right?
Yeah, they need to know why they're selling.
Exactly.
So I think I think it's the most important aspect of growing a business, but of course I'm biased. But that's kind of why people come to us, right? So maybe they don't have the budget yet to hire a full person or a full-time person to do PR, and that's okay. I definitely sometimes, again, like working with bigger brands, or national or international, they have a communications department, but maybe for that specific market that they're launching in, they just need someone who knows what's going on.
On the ground level here.
Yeah, so and sometimes we're working in collaboration with their communications department, right? So
awesome. So you're known to be Alberta's only PR agency with a strong focus in fashion, beauty, and lifestyle. So my question is, did niching down into those industries help you scale and grow versus being too broad?
Yeah, so I get asked this a lot. So when I told people I'm gonna launch Alberta's first fashion PR firm, everyone's like, good luck, like good luck with that. People thought that I was crazy. I think people still think I'm crazy. I think that I personally think that knowing where your expertise lies is like really important. And so for us, like, we talk that language. I've been in the fashion industry for so long. I know how to talk that language. I know what those journalists are looking for. I've been on the other side of the desk receiving those pitches. I've been the influencer doing collaborations with brands. So I get that world, so I think that I have the most value. So why not try to serve that specific industry? I could take on, a sports client or a car client or whatever, but I wouldn't be able to be as successful as I am working with fashion, beauty, arts, lifestyle, because I just know that world so well. So I think that we offer the most value in that area, so it makes sense for us to niche in that area. It doesn't mean that there aren't challenges with it. Like, I think people, when I said I was launching this, they thought the challenge would be like enough work, but there's tons of work. There's so many fashion brands here and in Canada in general. The challenge is actually there's not a lot of fashion media. So who are we pitching? And who cares? Who cares about fashion in this market? That's like where the challenge lies. There's plenty of work to be had. There's plenty of businesses that need support.
Some media outlets might put that as a secondary thing versus something they want to put out as a story, right?
Yeah, exactly. So that's what we're working against, especially in the Alberta market is. And it was the same when I worked at the Art Gallery of Alberta. How do you get the public to care about the art? So you get it here. Whereas when you're in a bigger market like Toronto, it's easier. You
have more of an audience there. So Publicity Room has had like tremendous growth in the past couple of years. We've seen you everywhere.
That's great.
I feel like everyone knows who you are.
I love it.
That's
That's
awesome.
great.
That's a quick growth for a couple of years for a new
Yeah.
business, which is
Yeah.
fantastic. Congratulations.
Thank you.
What do you think, and for the audience out there, is the single most important thing that has attributed to that quick growth for your business?
Okay, it's weird being asked that because I don't feel like it's quick growth.
Yeah.
I think I'm so in it that I don't really have a good perception of the perception of it. So
Right.
I'm really proud of where I am. I'm really proud of I can't believe the biggest milestone for growth for me was hiring my first full-time employee.
Mhm.
So that was oh my gosh, I'm an employee, this is amazing. That's
scary at first,
it's
right?
so scary.
Yeah.
You're just I hummed and hawed over it, and then I was so nervous, and then having a team is so much better than being on your own. So
I can't live without my team.
yeah, it's you just it's such a difference. So I don't know. I don't really have an answer. I think I've just put my head down, stayed in my lane. I'm just working as hard as I can.
So putting in the time.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
just being focused, and I guess I'm really dedicated to this. I believe in it. I get a lot of joy from it. So it doesn't, I hate saying this, but it doesn't feel like a job because
Right.
it brings me so much joy supporting people I believe in. So when we get to cheerlead people and put them in the spotlight, that's just when we get a media
Exciting.
placement in the office, it's woo! It's a party.
Yeah.
We have a party because we're so excited that we get to support these people that we believe in. So I think just being dedicated, finding joy in what you do, will set you on the right path. So my vision for Publicity Room is much bigger, so I still feel like I'm in the
What's
grind.
the vision? Tell us the vision.
I guess I have a lot of dreams for it, but I would like to grow the team for sure.
Mhm.
I think that I would love to have a showroom in Alberta, which is sort of
Oh.
an industry term, but
Yeah.
so in Toronto or New York, a lot of PR firms have what they call a showroom. So basically, the clients or designers or brands that they represent, they can actually have their sample collection in house. So I can invite stylists, I can invite journalists, editors into our office and say
Wow.
here's take whatever you need for your next issue of Avenue magazine or whatever.
Ah, okay.
So I'd love to be able to offer things like that. That's never existed.
No one has that here.
It's never existed because these brands don't think about what's happening here.
Yeah.
The prairies gets forgotten a lot in kind of fashion media in Canada.
Yeah.
So just I think my vision is offering more and more and more opportunities for fashion brands here that
Connect.
that don't get a lot of attention.
Yeah.
The other facet I guess I'm really interested in pursuing is the education component. So we've been we've launched a series of events called the Business of Wardrobe Styling.
Oh.
So I used to be a wardrobe stylist. I call myself semi-retired. I'm trying to get out of it, but
Yeah.
I never quite leave the industry. So when I started out wardrobe styling, there's there's no one to talk to. There's no mentors here. I had to just figure it out on my own. And I'm glad that I did that, but I think that there's opportunity for us to pass that knowledge down.
Right.
So we're kind of launching more and more events and workshops. We're going to have one that's related more to public relations, so kind of DIY PR. So if you don't have the budget to hire a PR firm or hire someone
That's how you do
internally,
it.
here's how we can help. Here's what you can do on your own.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited about that, workshops, events, just educating people on how
Right.
they can grow.
So
a
it's
business.
just in case anybody out there who's really interested
Yes.
in workshop, where do we find this? When is it coming up?
I can't reveal the dates yet
Alright.
because we're still working on it. But
Check back to the website
Yeah, check
later?
back to the website.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what was the biggest challenge you'd say in the past couple of years that you had to overcome in growing your business?
Oh man, the biggest challenge. I think the biggest challenge, honestly, is just personal. Stepping into a leadership role was really hard for me. I've always been I've always called myself a workhorse. I've always been tell me what to do and I'll get it done.
Yeah.
And I'm good like that. I worked for other people for 8 years. So I think stepping into this management, executive director was really uncomfortable for me at first, really scary. And then hiring an employee and managing an employee and delegating is not kind of my natural space.
Mm-hmm.
So that's been hard, but really rewarding in kind of learning that skill set and just getting more comfortable in my own skin, trying to like lead a business into the future. So yeah, that's been hard, but a good kind of challenge.
A good hard, right? I think you have to always be challenged all the time, and you know, to be learning all the time, or else it's not fun anymore.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Yeah.
So the PR and marketing landscape has changed so much with like social media, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, thousands or hundreds of other different things that everyone's on these days. That's the new media. I can really see this happening, and I really believe in social media marketing. Where do you see social media influencers is here, and also the next thing to come, like for a long ways to come. But how do you feel it plays a role in marketing these days?
Yeah, so social media and just the internet in general has really changed public relations.
Right. So
PR is really starting to blur with marketing now, especially digital marketing and of course content creation. So what's kind of happening is this could be like a whole episode on its own. Like I could like get on my soapbox about it. So it's really interesting. It's like we're consuming more media than we've ever consumed in the history of media. But publications, these media outlets are dropping off, you know, and it's really scary. It's scary for us as publicists because it's like we need these publications to pitch to get our clients coverage, to spread news about them. So, you know, we're still holding on to that because there's still credibility in that. Like, you know, being published in the National Post still holds like so much credibility and so much value, and you can really leverage that. But at the same time, you can't forget about this online world and creating your own content and reaching out to, you know, influencers and bloggers and all this kind of thing. So I don't know, there's kind of interesting things happening. Like I know for us, we have a lot of clients who they've been burnt in the past working with influencers. And so they're very wary.
They didn't hire you, that's why.
Yeah, they didn't hire us to manage it. Yeah. But I mean, we've been burnt too, you know? So I think that there's a Darwinism kind of going on where I think these people who are building really interesting content will, of course, like, they'll come up to the top and reign supreme, and they kind of already are. You know, it's the people who are like really trying to, they go to a brand and they say, let's do a collaboration, but they're going the extra mile to make that creative or more interesting, as opposed to people who are just kind of, you know, charging $1,000 to do a flat lay. Yeah. And I know that flat lay takes time. I know that you have to style it. I know that you've spent time building your audience online, and I totally get the value. I guess my thoughts are like, for us, we want to work with influencers who really align and understand our clients. It's not good enough to me for you to just take a photo of it in a flat lay. Like we just don't do collaborations like that. It doesn't mean there isn't value. Like I do think that there is value to that. It's just like, it's not interesting to me. That's not the kind of work we want to do. So we're in this weird zone right now with our business where, yes, we want to work with these people, but we're just like really more cautious of how those collaborations look. Right. And the thing is like, influencers have been around forever. You know, like celebrity endorsement has been around forever.
Everywhere,
Yeah, like Michael Jordan and Nike, you know, those are some of the biggest marketing campaigns of all time. They're like, you know, those are case studies in marketing classes at universities. So it's not really a new concept. It's just that the platform it's on is so
everyone's an influencer now.
Yeah, it's like the Wild West, and it's like everyone charges different. There's no standards being set, and the other thing too is, I mean, with the rules. So I'm sorry, I'm going to go on a tangent on this because we
want to hear about this.
It's fascinating because it's like the States has really cracked down on sponsored collaboration. So influencers in the US who are being paid to do, you know, an Instagram post, they have to now, you know, hashtag paid, hashtag sponsored, and those rules are starting to creep into our advertising standards in Canada. So I'm interested to see how that affects these partnerships as well. I don't think there's anything wrong with saying, this is sponsored, and that's okay.
And you see it all the time in like podcasts, shows like this.
It's just advertising. But I guess my advice to people who are in that industry or who are trying to become influencers and I guess make a business out of that is you need to start thinking of yourself as an advertiser. You are an advertiser, and I think as soon as they take themselves seriously and own that, they'll actually be more successful. There's just a level of professionalism that you need to have if you want to work with the big brands, and we're more inclined to work with people who are taking it more seriously.
So what would be your advice if you're the big brand or the company who wants to pick and choose those influencers?
Yeah. Okay, so I guess it's just like alignment is everything. Alignment. Don't go quality over quantity. So sometimes we have clients who are like, this influencer has like 1 million followers, we want to work with them. And it's like, well, where are those followers? Like, what country do they live in? Are they even your demographic? Are they going to care about what your business is? Who else does this influencer work with? Do they work with like a direct competitor of yours? What is their kind of brand voice, and does their brand voice match yours? So alignment is everything to make it successful, because when an influencer works with a brand that doesn't align, their audience
There's a disconnect, right?
Their audience is like, what? Why are you? What? Huh? This doesn't make sense. Like, you're vegan and you're working with this like leather brand. This doesn't make any sense, right? So people will call them out. So you have to be really careful about. You have to look at what they represent instead of the number. Like, don't look at the followers.
Yeah, some people think more followers better. Those like big following.
Yeah. It can be. It doesn't mean it's not. It's just like. What's their engagement like? Do people actually convert when they're working with those influencers? And that's my other advice for influencers is if you want to work with a brand, go to them and say, hey, I did this awesome collaboration with this company. This is what resulted. So don't just talk about your numbers. Say, they had this many sales when we did this collaboration together, or this happened. So prove, have case studies and prove your value.
A lot of people approach us and say, we want this this influencer because they have 100 to 300,000 followers. But sometimes we think that those micro influencers, maybe even 5 to 10 to 25, who have real true followers and they're not immune to everything they post every day, those ones actually become more aligned with the content.
Yeah, and they're real people who are living in the world doing things. Like, I'm more interested in people who are out and about in the world. Like, maybe they're really connected in the physical world more than they're connected online.
Right.
Like, those are the champions of your brand that might be most successful.
Champions of your brand.
Yeah.
So where do you see the biggest gap is for businesses in PR and marketing these days?
The biggest gap, I guess everything goes back to story. So how are you telling your story? Mm-hmm. Why are you interesting? Why are you unique? What is your why? Are you explaining why you're doing what you're doing? Right. So it's not enough to just have an Instagram or a Facebook page. It's what's your content? So I think content development, everyone's saying it, that's where the future lies, is kind of owning your own content and really owning your own story. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So if you're a retail brand or fashion brand, and you are just starting out or you want that next big break, where would be the number one area to invest in for growth?
Communications, marketing, PR, that whole thing. So I think, again, when you look at brands that are doing really well, even smaller local brands, so actually we talk about them every day, but Poppy Barley is a great example of a brand that right from the beginning, they invested in how they were communicating their story, and that's their priority. Obviously it starts with a great product. You have to have the good product or service, but then you have to think about how you're conveying that.
Their why is awesome.
Their why is
Kendall's
great.
Awesome.
And they're very inclusive, so you feel like you're part of their story. It's kind of that cold call mentality that sometimes you just have to put it out there and see what happens, because the truth is, and I say this a lot, it's kind of my saying, is if you build it, they won't come.
Right.
That mentality, it doesn't work anymore.
No.
There's too much noise, there's too much saturation in the market. So if you build it, you have to tell people you built it.
Right.
So always remember that. They're not going to come to you.
So no budget, just reach out to anybody, everybody, whoever you want that attention to be. So never know what will come up, right?
Just try.
Yeah. All right, so for those who aspire to be you and want to start a PR agency, where do you get started? And the biggest question is, how do you land that first client?
So I'm kind of I'm becoming an old lady. Sometimes when I hear myself giving this advice, I'm like, wow. But I do believe this. I think you have to pay your dues. So you have to pay your dues. You have to work work for someone else, learn what you need to learn, work in the industry for a few years so that you actually know what you're doing before you go off on your own. I think, I worked for 8 years under different mentors and in different facets of the industry, and I learned so much so that I can now feel confident to go to people and say, believe in me, give me your money, I'm gonna help you, but you can't just people might disagree with me, but you can't just walk out the door of your college and then open up an agency. You're not going to do very well. You need experience. So I think for me, my very first clients were connections I had made through all of those jobs I had for 8 years working for different companies in Edmonton. So when they knew that I was starting my own business, they said, hey, we know you already. We know that you work hard.
We trust your work.
We trust you. You're credible, you have experience in this industry. And so those were my first clients, were those contacts I had made in 8 years working in PR. So
right. I think where I think people are missing too is they got to do free work.
They
have to do free work for experience and put it out there and for them to gain their trust, right? We get this from designers out there. They want to land the biggest client out there, but I think they have to
you have
do the
to
work,
pay your dues.
Do your dues, right?
And the same thing happened with me, with fashion. I was so interested in fashion, and when I started out, it's not like I just, walked into the Condé Nast building and was like, give me a job at Vogue. I did a lot of free wardrobe styling. I wrote for free, freelance journalism. I gave a lot so that I could get the experience to then go forward and say, okay, now I can charge people. So don't be afraid of free work. I think there's kind of this interesting self-help movement going on where it's know your value and don't let people take advantage of you, and know your value, but also know that
but that's you giving your value to that client or potential client down the road for the long-term play, right?
And the thing I always tell people too is say yes until you can say no. And I remember when I was able to start saying no, and that was the most empowering feeling, because I was okay, I'm at a point in my career now where I don't have to take every single opportunity. So it's okay to do free work once in a while. Go out and offer it to people. If you want to enter into an industry, you need to be hustling. And so this happens a lot with PR, again, wardrobe styling. I have the young people come to me and they're like, how do I get into the industry? And I'm like, well, what have you done? Tell me what you've done. Have you called up Avenue and said, hey, I'm interested in styling. Can I come to a shoot?
They're like, no.
You just have to
you just have to do.
You just have to do. You just have to do. No one's gonna come to you.
Awesome. So, is there any exciting, super exciting projects that you're working on right now? I know Londonderry Malls, the rebrand launch for Simons is opening at the end of this month. We have some friends who are actually opening there too, and everyone's super excited. You're a big part of that. Is that what's coming up? Or
so
anything
that's
else?
A main project. So we're actually working. So I'm working with Simons right now on some media outreach locally around the opening. The space is amazing. There's a lot of interesting things that they've done with this space that we haven't seen before from Simons. This is also Edmonton's the only city ever to have 2 Simons, so that's huge. So working with them, we're also working with Park Shop. So Park is a really cool organization out of Calgary who works really hard to support kind of emerging designers in Canada and sort of give them a platform to succeed. So Park Shop is opening a Canadian designer-focused store in Londonderry right beside Simons. So we're really hustling on that right now to kind of spread the word. We're really excited. What else are we doing? We have lots on the go, but so those would be the 2 main things that we're still
busy with this month. Awesome. And then where do we find you at Publicity Room?
You can find us online, publicityroom.com. Also, you can find us on Instagram. We always share a lot of behind the scenes and what we're up to and what it's like actually working in the industry. So,
your blog is super informative and awesome too.
Thank you.
We'll get those social media handles and website on screen here too. Awesome. Thanks so much for coming again.
Thank you. Thanks for letting me ramble.
I think if anybody has PR questions, they can call you, email you, find you online on social. You'd love to hear from them, I'm sure.
Of course, reach out anytime. We love talking shop with people.
Our door is always open too if you have marketing questions. And thanks so much for tuning in to 12 TV.
Another year, let's get it. Another year, get better. Blood and tears get shedded. The sweating coming with the music though. Speaking with my feelings in it with nowhere near regretting it. And what I'm smoking right is therapeutic. And she wanna leave cause she require my mind. I'm focused on success and that requires my time.